Is the War Plan group chat in legal jeopardy? By Josh Gerstein. President Donald Trump is facing a political firestorm thanks to a decision by some of his top national security officials to engage in some planning via the Signal app about an impending military operation in Yemen, and then accidentally leaking it to The Atlantic's Jeffrey Goldberg. But his political problems are only the tip of the iceberg. Including Goldberg in the chat not only led to the conversation becoming public, but also opened up a whole host of potential legal pitfalls for the Trump cabinet officials involved, including Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, National Security Advisor Michael Waltz, and Secretary of State Marco Rubio. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt has insisted that no war plans were discussed in the messages. But will there be any legal consequences for the Trump officials' unorthodox use of Signal, or for the disclosures to Goldberg? Here's what to know about the laws that may or may not have been broken, and the possible legal fallout. They're also already getting sued by a watchdog organization called American Oversight for violations of the Federal Records Act and Administrative Procedure Act. For a more detailed rundown of the potential issues involved, read the full treatment in Politico magazine. Did the Signal chat violate the Espionage Act, and will anyone be prosecuted? There's certainly an argument that using Signal for these kinds of chats was so careless that it violated the Espionage Act. But when it comes to someone actually being prosecuted, I wouldn't hold your breath. It is true that the Espionage Act makes it a crime punishable by up to 10 years in prison to handle national security secrets with such gross negligence that it allows them to fall into the hands of an unauthorized person. In theory, that should be worrisome for those texting war plans to a journalist. Trump administration officials insisted today that the contents of the chats were unclassified, although Goldberg says that claim is hard to square with the kind of information he saw about targets, weapons, and timing of planned U.S. strikes. Technically, one can violate the Espionage Act even by disclosing unclassified information if that information pertains to the national defense and is closely held. But such cases are rare. Is it legal for officials to use Signal for official communications? It's not automatically illegal, but it can easily run afoul of the main laws governing record-keeping, the Presidential Records Act and the Federal Records Act, which set rules dictating which records must be preserved and for how long. The frequently used disappearing messages feature on Signal could pose a particular problem. That a screenshot Goldberg published shows this particular chat was set to automatically delete messages after 4 weeks. A law President Barack Obama signed in 2014 requires that federal employees who use personal accounts to discuss official business to copy those messages to an official account within 20 days so they can be preserved. That means the officials involved in these discussions on Signal still have time to comply since these messages came about 10 days ago. Which agencies would look into this, and do they have any conflicts of interest? Federal agencies are typically required to report to the Justice Department unauthorized disclosures to the media of classified information, typically using this 11-part questionnaire. Of course, if the Trump administration insists the information shared in the Signal wasn't classified, then there would be no need to report it. Allegations that federal agencies are failing to preserve or maintain their records as required by law are fielded by the National Archives and Records Administration, which helpfully catalogs such complaints. One complication: Rubio's role as a reported participant in the Signal chats about the strikes on the Houthis. While Rubio's most prominent title is as Secretary of State, he's also moonlighting as acting head of the National Archives, installed after Trump fired the Senate-confirmed Biden appointee to that post. Is this the same thing that Hillary Clinton did? There are a lot of parallels between the Trump officials' use of Signal and Clinton's use of a private email account and server for her official communications during her time as Secretary of State. Both seem to underscore how cumbersome and inconvenient U.S. government systems are for officials traveling overseas, or for those who need to discuss sensitive information at off hours. Top officials often have a phone booth-like sensitive information facility at their homes for these situations. We don't know all the details of the sensitivity of the information exchanged in either case. Clinton and her aides occasionally sent or received emails about drone strikes in Pakistan. Many of the discussions deemed classified, but not marked as such at the time, were about press reports on local residents blaming the U.S. for damage. In theory, the Signal chats should be more secure than an ordinary email account because of the app's end-to-end encryption. However, the National Security Agency warned just last month that Signal can be compromised. Snooping programs installed on someone's device could likely capture signal chats. And of course, adding an unintended person to the chat would compromise it no matter how secure the technology.